Now let me introduce the new advanced handling of FamilySearch sources. In this video, I will explain the situation that we attempt to improve with this new feature and a brief overview of how it solves the situation. After which, I will teach the use of a new tool that solves the problem. Let me illustrate the problem with an example of a simple source, the Utah marriages 1887 to 1935. This source is a collection of entries for thousands of marriages, but only a handful of these would be of individuals in my ancestry. After a brief scan, looking for entries in which a couple of my progenitors were mentioned in this source, I found 5 entries as shown in this table. Notice that Alma Findley was mentioned as the father of Alma Jr. in the first record, as the husband in the second record, and as the father of the bride, or the wife, in the next 2 records. Then another ancestor, Ralph, was mentioned as the father of the bride in the 5th record. Each of these 5 records mentions 6 people: the groom, the bride, the father and mother of the groom, and the father and mother of the bride. This expanded table shows how the top entry is expanded as it mentions each of the 6 people recorded in relation to this marriage. So by the time I am done documenting all the information from this source, I will have referenced this source 30 times, 6 people times 5 marriage records. The way the Ancestral Quest source system was designed, the first time you encounter this source, you would create the source for Utah marriages 1887 to 1935. Then create the first citation, Alma Findley Jr. and Inez Bunderson. And then you would attach it to the first of the 6 people which you encountered in your research. Then you would likely make sure that the other 5 people mentioned in this citation of the source are in your database, and you would then attach this citation to each of the remaining 5 people. Over time, as you continue your research, you would find the other 4 citations listed. For each, you would create a citation for the source and attach the citation to each of the 6 people mentioned in the citation. By the time you are done, you would have 1 source entry for this volume listed in your list of sources. You would have created 5 different citations, and you would have connected each citation to 6 individuals. Now let's contrast this with how sources are documented in FamilySearch and how they are downloaded into your Ancestral Quest database. FamilySearch creates a source for each person mentioned in a citation. As you do research with FamilySearch and create sources and connect those sources to individuals, here is a list of the sources created from the marriage record of Alma Jr. and Inez. Note that a separate source is created for each person mentioned in the citation. Each source is a combination of source detail and citation detail, as the source contains the source information, the citation information, and the person referenced in the citation. Once you have completed your research for the 5 marriage records in our example, you will have created 30 different sources in FamilySearch, and you will have downloaded these 30 sources into your Ancestral Quest database. Later, as you try to locate a source in your list of sources, you will likely have trouble finding any of these sources, as they are not alphabetized by the title of the actual source, but rather by the name of the person referenced in the citation of the source. Now, there is nothing wrong with recording sources in this manner, if that is how you prefer to do it. But many users of Ancestral Quest prefer to organize their sources as described earlier, rather than in the way that FamilySearch organizes them. In summary, Ancestral Quest was designed to record the information in this example as 1 source in the list of sources, with 5 citations and a total of 30 individual references. FamilySearch instead creates 30 sources. Prior versions of Ancestral Quest simply downloaded the 30 sources from FamilySearch, and you can still download FamilySearch sources as you have in the past. However, in version 16, you have an additional new advanced option. As you download sources from FamilySearch into your personal file, this new tool of Ancestral Quest will help you easily create a proper source the first time you encounter a particular source, such as Utah marriages 1887 to 1935, and then create the first citation and attach the first person. As you download additional references to this same source later, this tool will help you simply attach new citations to the already existing source in your file and attach new references to existing citations. Also, if you have already downloaded sources from FamilySearch and thus have dozens, hundreds, or thousands of such sources in your list of sources, this new tool will help you combine multiple references to a single citation and separate citations of a source. After using this tool to clean up the sources you have already downloaded from FamilySearch, you will have a list of sources and citations that fit into the source system initially designed in Ancestral Quest. Now let me demonstrate and teach the use of this new tool. First, I'll show you how to download sources and citations from FamilySearch in such a way as to create the initial source in your list of sources, and then as you download additional citations to the same source, to create citations for that source. Then I'll demonstrate how to use this new tool to clean up your source list if you have downloaded sources from FamilySearch without using this tool during the download process. I'll use the record of my great-grandfather, Alma Findlay, as the main example for this lesson. So let me select Alma, click on the blue tree icon so I can get a side-by-side between my database and FamilySearch. And let's go ahead and take a look at the sources. I currently have 0 sources in my file, but there are 42 sources out in FamilySearch. In this listing, the first mention of the Utah marriages 1887 to 1935 is here near the top. Let me click on the title to expand that, and then I'll say I want to add it to my local file. Before I continue, the new tool is activated if you have this box for Advanced Import selected. So I'm going to check this box to make sure we use the new tool. Then I'll say I want to attach this source citation to the record of Alma, and let's add the source. Now, as this is the first time I'm showing this particular screen, let me review it a bit. Here at the top, you'll see the source as it is stored currently in FamilySearch that you would be downloading into your Ancestral Quest database. Here in the middle, you'll see the way it is presently going to import this into a source record if you make no changes. And down at the bottom is the citation detail. As you are working in these lower 2 sections, Ancestral Quest only shows the fields that we felt were most appropriate to this process. If you need to see additional fields in the source record, you can use the Full Source Details button to see the rest of the fields, and the same with citation. If you need to see additional fields, then use the Advanced button to see additional citation details. Now, every time you open this screen, before you can continue, you need to tell it what type of conversion you intend to do. In this case, because it's the first time we've seen this particular source in our database, and we want to create the source and first citation, we want to choose the top option to edit this source. As soon as we click that, the screen becomes generally available in that mode. Now notice that the upper fields are all grayed out. You cannot make changes in these fields, but you can copy and select information from these fields as you copy and paste them down below. With this selection, I can now start editing the information. Initially, a source from FamilySearch is a free-form source. You could leave this, or you could make adjustments to make this a structured source. In this example, I want to make this a structured source, so I'll remove the check mark from the free-form box. Now let me state that the type of this source is a marriage record. And let me adjust the title to what I think is appropriate for this particular source. It would not include the name of the person, and would only include the actual name of the source and the range. Now, as I scan the original information from the source in FamilySearch, looking for details that I want to copy down below, I see the name FamilySearch. I don't feel that FamilySearch is the author of this particular source, nor is it the publisher. Let me go out to the Full Source Details screen. I could add FamilySearch in as additional information, or I could add it as the repository. For this example, let me use it as the repository. So I'll click on the repository button. Notice that FamilySearch is not in the current list of repositories, so let me add it. Now that it's on the list, I can select it. So FamilySearch shows up here in the Source Edit screen, and if I click OK, it now shows up here in the repository field of our conversion tool. Notice also that as you edit the source and citation information, the sample footnote will reflect the information you have so far. The URL to view the original page in FamilySearch for this record is shown up here as it came from FamilySearch, and that has been copied down into the citation image field of the citation portion of this screen. If you wanted, you could view this original page simply by clicking the View button here. Now, this citation is that of Alma and May. Let me copy that information from the original FamilySearch source down into my citation. So I'm going to select that information and use Control-C to copy it. And down in this field, I'll use Control-V to paste it. I'll do the same with the date. I'm going to select the date from here and Control-C to copy it, and in the entry date field, Control-V to paste it. Notice as we've been going, the sample footnote is building out. So all of the fields that I want to copy down for this example have been moved now from the original source of FamilySearch into appropriate fields here in Ancestral Quest, and I can now click the Save button to save the initial source record, the first citation, and the repository record that we've edited in this screen. So Ancestral Quest now has that information added and now shows the citation and title of the source along with the same URL that was in FamilySearch. Now let's find the next citation of this source in FamilySearch. A little bit further down, we come here to another Utah marriages, 1887 to 1935, with Alma's daughter, Aline Finley, and her husband, Golden. So let's select that one. I want to add it to local. I'll scroll the screen down a little bit. I want to attach this citation to the record of Alma, and I want to verify here that we will be doing the advanced import. I can now add the source, and again, the same screen comes up. This time, the source already exists out in our database, so I only want to attach a new citation to that existing source. So I'm going to select this option, then select the existing source. That can be found alphabetically down near the bottom of this list. Here it is, Utah Marriages. I want to select the source. Here's a list of current citations for that source. We are creating a new citation for Golden and Aline, so I want to say Create the new citation. And Ancestral Quest has now copied in the information from that source we just edited, including the repository. It has copied down the URL from the FamilySearch source into the URL here, and we're ready to copy down any additional citation detail. So let me copy the names Golden and Aline, copy, Control-C, and Control-V to paste. And this time I'll just type in the date to November 1925. And you can see down here in the sample footnote that I've entered all the information we intend to enter. At this point, I can attach this new citation to the source. And if I scroll back up, as soon as you connect a FamilySearch source to a local source, it moves them to the top of the list. Anyway, here's our new citation with Golden and Aline. I just want to show you one more example. So let's scroll down a little further to find the next record of that same source. Here we are, Utah Marriages, 1887 to 1935, with another one of the children of Alma. I will click the box here to say I want to begin adding it. Let's make sure I've got the advanced import check set. I do. I want to attach this to the record of Alma. We'll add the source. Again, I want to attach to an existing source. We'll select the source from the list, which is right here, Utah Marriages. Select the source. The new citation I'm adding is for Alma Jr. It's not on the list, so I want to create a new citation. And again, I want to quickly copy down the details of the citation here. So I'm going to Control-C, copy that, and Control-V, paste that. And again, I'm just going to type in the date, 7 April 1921. Everything looks good. And I can now attach this citation to the source. Again, if I scroll up to the top, this has been added. Again, this is now the same source, but now it's a citation for Alma Jr. and Inez Anderson. Let's take a look at what we've done through other screens. Let me close this screen and close this. Here under Alma, if I go to look at his documentation page and go to the individual sources, here are the three sources we just added to Alma. If I take any one of these and I edit it, just by way of reviewing what we've done, here's the source information up here in the source area. Here's the details I put in the citation along with the entry date. And if I wanted to see in more detail this source, I could click this edit button. There's the title, and here's the repository that I've entered. Let me show this to you one other way. If I hit cancel here and close this screen and close this screen, I'm going to go to the edit menu of Ancestral Quest and drop down to the source list. Here we've added this one new source, which is Utah Marriages. And if I take a look at the citations, notice that we've created three citations. One for Alma Jr. that is connected to Alma Finley, his father. One to Golden Snyder and Aline, which is connected to Alma Finley, her father. And one to Alma and May, which is the record of Alma and his spouse. Okay, so I've demonstrated how you can bring sources down from FamilySearch in a way that you are creating a master source and then tying citations to that master source. Let me now show you how to clean up these three sources into a single source if you had downloaded them from FamilySearch as three separate sources. So I'm going to first delete this particular source to set us back the way we were when we started. This will not only delete the source, but these three citations. So we just cleaned up what we've already done. Let me close this. And let's quickly go back through this exercise to bring them down the way we would have without this tool. Let me go to Alma's side-by-side screen. Go again into the sources. And I'm going to now take off the advanced import checkmark as we take Alma with his first marriage, attach it to the record, and add it. And then we'll come down to Alma with, here's Golden and Aline. Let's go ahead and add that to the record of Alma. And while we're at it, here is the record for Alma's son, Alma Jr., and his bride that we also want to bring over. So I will select that and tell it I want to attach this to the record of Alma and add the source. We have now, let me scroll to the top here, we have now attached all three of these, but they're in the original citation format that they were in FamilySearch. Instead of having one source with three citations, we now have three sources, each with one citation. As you can see here, we've just copied over the citation and URL exactly as it was in FamilySearch. Let's go take a look at this in our source list. So I'm going to close these couple of screens. We'll go to Edit the Source List. And now notice here we have Alma Findley, an entry for Alma Jr. in the Utah marriages. We have Alma Findley as a separate source in entry for Golden, Snyder, and Aline in Utah marriages. And as a separate source, we have Alma Findley in Utah marriages. So we've now created three separate sources, and I want to show you how to use that tool to now combine these all into one source. It doesn't matter which order we go through these, but we're going to end up going into each of these three and combining them. So let's start at the top one here. Notice in version 16 that when you click on a freeform source, it gives you this extra button down here to convert a freeform source to a structured source. And that is how we get into this screen that allows us to combine these. So having selected that source, I'm going to click on this Convert button. And again, we have to make a choice as to what type of conversion. The first time I'm working on a new source, I want to use Edit the Source. And subsequently, I'll combine the one that we're editing now with the other ones. So let's start here. And again, I want to say, let's make this a structured source. I want to drop down here to, this is a marriage record. And let's adjust the title to just be Utah Marriages, 1887 to 1935. Again, we need to select the repository, so we'll go to the Full Source Details, click the Repository button, select FamilySearch from the list, select that, click OK here, and we have now moved appropriate information from this freeform source into our source record. Now let's move information for our first citation. The citation is not Alma Findley in entry 4. The citation is simply Alma Findley Jr. and Inez Bunderson. So I'm going to copy that with Control-C, Control-V to paste it, and entry date I'll just type in as 7 April 1921. And we've now moved again all the appropriate information from the original freeform source that came from FamilySearch into the proper structured source fields. Footnote looks good. Utah Marriages, Alma Findley Jr., 7th of April. So when I save this, it will actually make adjustments to the original source to be what's reflected here, and it'll make adjustments to the citation to be what's shown here. So the new source is now listed down at the bottom, alphabetically up my list of sources. Let's go back to the top and grab the next one, Alma Findley, an entry for Golden, Snyder, and Aline. I want to convert this. This time, because we already have the source existing, I want to combine the source with another source. So let's select the other Ancestral Quest source, which is the Utah Marriages, 1887 to 1935. I'm creating a new citation, not the one for Alma Jr., but rather the one for Golden Snyder. So I want to create a new citation. Ancestral Quest has now copied the source information from our existing source into here. and it is ready for us to add the additional citation detail. So I'm going to copy Golden, Snyder, and Aline, Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and the entry date, I'm going to type in 2 November 1925. We've now moved all the pertinent information we want into this record. Now when I click the Combine button, it's going to actually delete this freeform source that was in our list, and it's going to attach this new citation detail to the other source that we had just finished editing a minute ago. So let's go ahead and combine these two. We only have one source left now from the original 3 that we brought down from FamilySearch, and that's Alma Findlay and Utah Marriages. Again, we can convert the freeform source to a structured source. I want to again combine this with an existing source, so let's select the existing source, which is Utah Marriages. We'll select that and create a new citation. At this point, we can copy in the details of the citation, Alma and May. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and I'll type in the entry date, 3 January of 1922. Now before I click Combine and combine this last one, I want to point out one more thing to you. Here in this View List of Citations For box, if you click the Freeform Source button, it will show you the existing sources in the freeform source that we are converting. If you click the selected AQ source, that will show you any citations of the source that we are combining into. So the freeform source currently only has one citation, and that is connected to Alma. Whereas the one we're merging into, remember we've already merged 2 records there. So the selected AQ source has those 2 citations that we'd already combined. When we finish this process, we will then have 3 in this one, and this will be gone. So let me combine these sources. And at this point, we no longer have Alma Findlay in citation of that marriage source. Instead, down here, we have a single Utah Marriages, 1887 to 1935, with 3 citations, each of which connect to Alma Findlay, ready for us to start connecting these to the other people who are mentioned in these various citations. Let me now show you one last screen to help solidify in your minds what we've done here. So I'm going to close this screen and close this screen. By the way, to edit, to combine those sources that you had downloaded earlier from FamilySearch, you have to go into the Edit menu and to Source List. If you get to the Source List any other way, you will not have that option to combine the sources. If I go back to Alma Findlay and review the side-by-side with FamilySearch and go into Sources, remember we've just finished initially downloading these 3 sources exactly as they were from FamilySearch into our database, but then we have combined these into a single source. So one source, 3 citations in our database versus 3 different sources in FamilySearch. We hope that you'll find this tool useful as you download source information from FamilySearch. Many Ancestral Quest users are already benefiting from this every day. Please share this video with anyone you know who would benefit from using this tool as they work with syncing their data with FamilySearch.